This service learning assignment and presentation was something that really intrigued me throughout the entire semester before I really got into it and the specifics on it. I thought it was a really awesome way to kind of cap off the semester and incorporate a real community difference in your education experience as well. At the start, however, I was kind of struggling just finding different organizations or places to volunteer that I felt like I was passionate about or directly related to my career or indirectly related to me. I was lucky enough to actually come across a local actress that I knew and find out about a program that she was doing with the Denver Center for the Performing Arts called Bookstars. She happens to be a teaching artist with them as well. And this program, they operate and go to different schools, doing like a immersive story time for pre-K age children. And story time that involves warm-up games and kind of theater-based activities as well to kind of keep everything all-encompassing for children. The issues that this program ultimately wants to address, of course, are early childhood literacy, which I thought really related to my career interest of writing. Ultimately because I think that my passion for writing and my pursuit of a career in writing is partially based on the fact that I was lucky enough to be introduced to reading books and writing at such a young age by my children. I was extremely fortunate for that, but I know all too often there are a lot of kids that don't get that opportunity. And early childhood literacy is such an important thing as well. I think to some information I was looking at for this speech in regards to early childhood literacy, some statistics, and one intriguing study I found from the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard. There was 50 kids that were studied that were in kindergarten, and if they struggled to read in kindergarten, 44 out of those 50 kids would eventually struggle to read in third grade as well. It just speaks to the importance of an early foundation and base of literacy for children. And pre-K is like the most excellent time to start that for sure. Another issue that this program, Bookstars, ultimately wants to address is literacy in lower income communities as well. And they address this by doing something really awesome, which is for Title I schools in lower income communities, they actually don't charge them to bring the Bookstars program to the schools for the pre-K children. And just to kind of show the importance of access to this for low-income students, I want to reference a study by the Colorado Department of Education in which there was data that showed that children that were eligible for free lunch programs, which is more than likely low-income students to qualify for that, they were three times more likely to have reading deficiencies compared to that of the counterparts that don't qualify for that reduced lunch program, those that aren't low income. So it's extremely important that they offer this service for Title I low income schools and communities. Another issue that this program ultimately wants to address is kind of an introduction to English for Spanish-speaking young children. And one of the ways they do this as well with the program is they do a really good job of immersive learning, kinesthetic learning, which is really kind of that hands-on type of learning versus your visual and audio learners. Interesting quote I found as well from professor and author Norman Herr in regards to kinesthetic learning was that it provides an excellent environment for students that are still learning English to be able to absorb information. That hands-on experience is a lot more tangible versus hearing something in a language you're not all too familiar with. So following the program information and just the issues that it addresses, I want to get into my volunteer experience with the program. I did 4 different sessions. Within that time frame, it was usually 2-hour days. 4 30-minute sessions is what we were doing at these different schools or community areas. My role in it all, the first session I joined in on, I was more so just the observer, kind of learning the ropes on how everything functioned, the flow of it all, which was really awesome to see her do the warm-up games with them, and then just introduce different learning materials like a tactile board. For example, one of the storybooks was Rainbow Fish, and one of the tactile boards had seashells and different things for the kids to be able to touch and really relate to and correlate with the words in the story that they're about to hear. Following just that first session where it was really more of an immersive session for me to learn the ropes, the following sessions that I would join in on, we did the book Click Clack Moo, and within that I was able to actually be the story teller, which was great. We all gathered around in the circle, but prior to even getting to that point, there is a great warm-up that she does to kind of get the kids loosened up, and after the warm-up as well, prior to the storytelling segment, we kind of do a little bit of theater-based games and doing word association even before we open up the book for them, kind of getting their minds primed up for the book and the associations made with different words and images that we're going to see in this book as well. Another way in which I helped in this volunteer experience was handing out different props to the children. Again, for the Click Clack Moo session, one of the props was a cool little costume prop where they get to wear like a cowbell, and she would do kind of a call and repeat session with them, even in the middle of a book sometimes, where it would be like kind of just a correlation and memory of different words she was saying. For example, the cow goes moo. Anytime she would say that, the instruction for them was to shake it to kind of build that memory for them and have it retain a little bit more for their literacy experience as well. A few other ways that I volunteered with this program was just kind of carrying some of the materials from place to place. The book itself was housed in this really awesome, pretty large Tupperware box. It was just black, but on the outside of the box there were different images associated for the different stories that were going to be told. For example, Click Clack Moo, with that story, the outside of the box had barn animals, farm animals, so you're automatically, before we even open the box and get into it, we're kind of already showing the children just the different things on the outside of it and getting their minds ready for it. I always loved coming into the classes and being like, hey, you know, children, along with Miss Ray, today we're going to be teaching you about a great storybook, but before we even let you know what that storybook is, can anybody tell me what a few of these images are? And you kind of go around the room and you try to get that information and those associations from children, and it was awesome to see how many of them were really already that bright and sharp to be able to make those associations. All in all, I was really glad that I got to do this volunteer experience. For me, it was extremely rewarding just from the standpoint of, as someone that loves to read and write and someone that wants to pursue a career in writing, I was glad I was able to give something back to children, and at such a young age and pivotal point in their life to be able to hopefully foster that same kind of love. Thank you all so much. It's been a wonderful semester.